Chapter 28. Why did you bring me here? She asked warily. The wheels in her mind spun fervently, trying to come up with a reason. Was this a kidnapping? It had to be. Otherwise, why hadn't they called an ambulance that would have brought her straight to a hospital? He raised his hands in the air. Look, I'm not saying this right. The last thing I wanted to do was freak you out.
She scoffed.
Well, it's a little too late for that. Why did you bring me here when you knew I was really sick? Why didn't you call an ambulance or at least get the school nurse? That's the thing, Ariel. I knew she wouldn't be able to help you, nor would the hospital. He paused, looking deep into her eyes, before continuing. That tattoo parlor you went to is run by a covenant of witches who practice black magic. The tattoo, he gestured to her shoulder, that they gave you is the sigil of the upper-tier demon Lilith. Witches, demons, black magic. The longer Sebastian spoke, the more preposterous his words got. You expect me to believe you? She frowned, trying to push herself farther away from him, but she was too weak to get up.
He winced.
I know this all sounds crazy to you, but you've got to believe me. The reason you were feeling so sick wasn't because the tattoo got infected. It was because the rune they inked on you was linking you to Lilith. It was creating a portal to let the demon possess you. She snorted. Do you realize how crazy this sounds?
He laughed.
Yeah, I do. But I swear it's all true. He bowed when he said, Did you hear or see anything strange when you started feeling sick? The blood drained from her face as the eerie voice from the night terror resurfaced in her mind. I'm coming for you, Ariel. Although Ariel didn't speak, Sebastian must have seen her reaction. He moved away and sat back on the armchair. I know this is too much information to assimilate all at once. It will take you time to accept it, but soon enough you will. In the meantime, now that you're awake, my brother and I can continue with your treatment. She imagined them tying her to some sort of torture mechanism which would pull her limbs from her body. She recoiled at the image it invoked. He must have read her mind, because he added, Don't worry. It won't be painful. It's just a ritual to break the Dark Witch's spell. Now I know you're lying, Sebastian. How can you break a spell? Don't you need magic to fight magic? That's if magic really exists, which it doesn't. He smiled, his lip drawing up to the side, as if he were teasing her. Oh, magic is real, Ariel. Soon you'll believe me. And you're right. You need magic to fight magic. But like everything in life and nature, there has to be a balance. You can only fight dark magic with white magic. She wasn't falling for his web of lies. Oh, and you expect me to believe you and your brother will read a spell from a bogus book and I'll be cured? How gullible do you think I am? He sighed, the smile vanishing from his eyes. He was dead serious. I'm not playing any tricks here, Ariel. I swear I'm being completely honest with you. Yes, there are real spells and authentic books of witchcraft, but only witches can cast them. She narrowed her eyes, staring him down. What are you trying to tell me? That you're a witch? He nodded, his eyes wide. Yes.
Chapter 29. Well, it was finally out there. There was no turning back now. The silence in the room roared in Sebastian's ears. He stared at her, wondering what she was thinking. He was sure if she had enough strength to get up and run, she would have done it. But instead her expression was blank, unemotional. Her blinking eyes were the only telltale sign she had heard what he'd said. He didn't know if he should say something else, elaborate on his far-fetched claim, and show her proof, or simply wait it out. Should he give her more time, let her absorb the information for a little while longer? She took a deep breath and covered her eyes with her hands. Maybe she wasn't saying something because she'd had a setback and hadn't really heard him. Ariel, did you hear me? Are you okay? He reached out to touch her arm, but pulled back, fearing any form of contact at this time would freak her out further. She began to laugh, her hands still covering her eyes and part of her face. Of all the reactions he'd anticipated when she'd finally know the truth, laughing hysterically was certainly not one of them. You know, you have the worst timing. Joking at a time like this when I feel like crap is mean, she said, letting her hands fall to the side. She gazed at him with apparent resentment. Ariel, I swear I'm not lying. What purpose would it serve me than to freak you out and make you want to hate me? She shook her head and lethargically pushed herself into a sitting position in bed. I'm not freaking out because I don't believe you. I'm going home. My dad must be worried sick that I haven't come home. You're not strong enough to go home, Ariel. We still haven't completed the ritual. I texted your dad on your phone earlier pretending to be you. I let him know you were at your friend Megan's house and were staying to do homework. She stood, anger deepening the furrow between her eyebrows. How dare you go through my phone without my permission? She held onto the wall nearby as she took baby steps. Where's my phone and the rest of my stuff? He was scared she'd fall. Her legs and hands trembled, but he didn't dare get closer. Not when she was so furious at him. Yeah, you're totally right. I shouldn't have invaded your privacy like I did. I shouldn't have brought you here without asking your consent first. But the fact was you were in a bad state. A demon was trying to possess you. I had to do what was best for you, he tried to reason. She glared at him. When will you stop peddling that story? Where's my purse? He motioned with his eyes toward the bureau. Your purse is over there. I left your phone in the kitchen. I won't stop saying the truth. You have to continue the treatment. She turned paths, now moving languidly in the direction of the bureau. He kept a close watch on her movements, ready to react if she faltered. From the way she swayed and panted, he figured it would be soon. Why are you doing this to me, Sebastian? Stop the charade and let me go home. He got closer as he saw whatever little stored-up energy she had dwindled away. I'm doing this because I care about you. And for the millionth time, I'm not making this up. If I was, wouldn't you think I'd come up with a more credible story? Her foot twisted and she lost her fragile balance. He leapt to her side, catching her before she fell and injured herself. He held her tightly in his arms while they locked gazes. Their faces were mere inches from one another. He could see the brown flecks floating in her pretty emerald eyes. She was so beautiful, so irresistible when she was frightened and rebellious. He drew his lips closer to her supple, pale ones, indulging in the urge to kiss her. He used his acute senses to measure her reactions. If he saw or felt she was pulling away, then he'd reciprocate her actions and let her go. But when she drew closer to him, so did he until their lips almost merged and time seemed to stand still.
Chapter 30. This power pulling Ariel to Sebastian was too strong to fight. She could feel it consuming her. But unlike that malignant energy making her sick earlier, this one made her swoon and excited. Being in his strong arms made her feel safe and loved. As his lips and hers began to merge, she yearned to see how his kiss would feel. She'd been wondering about it ever since he'd asked her out, and now she'd finally find out. Of course, it wasn't in the scenario she'd imagined. She was still furious with him for playing a cruel trick on her, bringing her here after she passed out and making up a sick lie about witches and demons. But she couldn't fight this attraction to him any longer. She closed her eyes and tilted her head to the side, positioning herself in the perfect pose to accept his kiss and kiss him back. But right before their lips joined, there was a knock at the door. She jumped away, startled. The bedroom door opened, and a tall man who looked quite similar to Sebastian, only he had a thick mustache and glasses, peeked his head in. "Sebastian, you want something to eat?" he said right before he laid eyes on her. A look of guilt overcame his features. "Sorry, I didn't realize you were awake, Ariel." Sebastian and she moved apart. He bowed, taking a deep, calming breath. "Ariel, this is my brother Odin." Odin waved awkwardly. "Hi." He turned to look at the door. "I was obviously interrupting something. I'll come back later." "No, don't go," Sebastian said assertively. "I need you to stay and tell Ariel that I'm not lying. She doesn't believe me that a dark witch cast a spell with a tattoo on her, and if we don't continue with the treatment, then she'll never fully recover." His harsh words and stern eyes cut right through her. The look of longing and desire he'd reflected just moments before had completely disappeared.